All right. Hey, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Blessed to be amongst so many wonderful people sharing, right? Sharing some insights and everything that they've learned. Real quick, I want to run through this and make sure that we have plenty of time left if there are any questions. So my name's John Kelly, and this program, this is a portion of an 8-hour program. And so I'm going to focus a lot today on just relationships. And so, a little background about myself. I'm a 30-year veteran of the Broward County Sheriff's Office down here in Florida. And over that 30 years, blessed assignments. I have Road Patrol FTO, Detective Bureau, Apprehension, Canine Handler, Training Division, Motor Sergeant. Just a blessed career and a blessed life. Great retirement, uh, beautiful wife, lovely daughter, just a blessed man. And with all those blessings, though, I still managed to screw things up pretty royally. Uh, Lost my badge 3 times, been investigated by the FBI, looking to go to federal prison. Um, Alcoholic, addict, and an adulterer. And I'll stop with the A's, right? Because if we go to the B's, C's, and D's, man, we are never going to be done in 40 minutes. So I say alcoholic, addict, and adulterer. I haven't had a drink in 27 years. Like, so why do I still have to be that guy, man? Why do I still have to carry the weight of that label, right? And I think we don't ever forgive ourselves or let the past go. I think too often we live in the past and that keeps us from growing. And so I say those things to let you know that, today is the day. And whatever happened yesterday, it's in the past and we don't have any control over it. So, you know what? Be done with it and let's move forward. With all that being said, I was fortunate upon leaving this profession intact, and I realized some things when I was in it, and I realized that there was much work that needed to be done. My next endeavor was a book, real quick, Surviving Self-Inflicted Wounds, and I use it and rely on it as support material for this program because at the end of the day, you're the reason why you're in this position that you're in. So if you're the reason why, right? If you're what's broken, you can be the thing that fixes it, right? And I think we got to get away from pointing, blaming. I like to bring a mirror to every class and just show you, hey, this is your responsibility. Nobody is coming to save you. And if you're the problem, you can be the solution. Simple enough. If you've got a question, I know you can pop it in the text and all that. But whenever I present, I put my cell phone number up there. So you can either ask a question here or you can hit me up with a text later on. That's my personal cell and it's always on. All right. So make yourself available to that resource if you'd like. The philosophy, real quick. Sometimes heroes need help. You spend an entire day, an entire shift, an entire life caring for other people. And you do that at the expense of ever giving a shit about yourself. That's what you do. And so today, in our brief time together, is an attempt to refocus and shift maybe the lens that you've been looking at things through. I think that we, in this first responder profession, we don't need additional training to learn our craft. We need additional training in life, right? You do your jobs with your eyes closed. But somehow we've equated that just because you're of age or just because you've been around for a bit, that you know. And I would submit to you that there is so much that we don't know. And really, the way we're going about finding out this trial and error, I think there's a better way. I think there's a better way. So we're normally on a extended program talking about our relationships, and I'm going to hammer relationships, the culture of our organizations, our financial, physical, and mental health. But today we're just going to focus strictly on relationships and the role that you play in developing that. I work with a woman named Olivia Johnson, and she's an amazing woman, and she has the Blue Wall Institute, and she has come up with the Fatal 10, and it's a methodology used to address suicide. And the first element of the Fatal 10 is interpersonal relationships. And I look at that and I go, that's that's the beginning and the end right there. And so, if you look around the horn, we talk about substance abuse and addictions and cumulative trauma and stress, and we walk around, and this paints a picture of your life. And a slide in any one of these areas isn't catastrophic. Right? But what ends up happening is a slide in one area left unaddressed turns into a slide in another area. And the next thing you know, we're in a position to harm ourselves. And so ultimately, it's about being real, addressing these issues when they arrive so we can get ahead of it. I'd like to use the analogy. There's two schools of thought. There is a disease model, which is the prevailing model right now, unfortunately. And if I could give the analogy, we're pitching a life raft, we're pitching a flotation device to you, and you're in the water, you're in the river already. And we're hoping that you have enough strength to pull yourself out. Disease model. The health model says, hey, you know what? Why don't we find out where you're falling in the river? And why don't we keep that from happening? Why don't we prevent that from happening? Right? Much easier to save you if you're not in the river. And this is her philosophy, and it's one that I've adopted. And the first thing she talks about are relationships. Now, you say to yourself, okay, John, really, relationships? You're going to talk to me about relationships? Yeah, man. Because I figured out a few things. And like our previous presenter, I've been schooled in life. I don't have any fancy letters after my name, man. I'm just John. But I want to share some things with you, and I think you'll find the relationship and the importance of it pretty profound. We're going to talk about optimism, resiliency, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, peak performance, all these great buzzwords, right? Well, what do they mean? What do they mean? We're going to give, in this very short period of time together, some actionable steps and items, real world, sustainable things that you can implement to walk away a better version of yourself. That's what we're going to do today. So I have up here the threat of AI. Whew, right? AI, supercomputers, robots going to take over the world, right? It's not artificial intelligence. It's alcohol and infidelity. Ooh, yeah, man. Alcohol and infidelity. Do we accept unacceptable behavior in this thing of ours? We do it all the time. We do it all the time. We actually applaud it in some cases, right? And so the issue becomes, I can't be there for you if I'm doing the same thing. It just doesn't work that way. So what we're trying to accomplish is some accountability, right? First, from within ourselves, holding ourselves accountable. And then secondly, once I do that, I can be part of your solution that you may be struggling to find. Threat of AI. So here we go. We're talking about relationships. For every bad guy that kills one of us, right? Most of you on this call are pretty learned. You understand this concept. For every bad guy that feloniously assaults one of us, that kills us, 2 to 3 of us take our own lives. It's tragic. Of those 2 to 3 that take our own lives, half the time it's the result of a divorce. So let me ask you, brothers and sisters, how much training do we do for you at your agencies and in your departments and in your organizations to strengthen that relationship at home? I can't hear you, but I bet a bunch of you are saying 0. Yeah, man. The number one reason why you don't go home And it's been that way forever. And we won't spend the time to strengthen that relationship and that bond at home. It's not a mystery, right? And so it begs, well, why? How can this be? I believe there are several issues at play here. One, it's our shame, man. It's our profession's dirty little secret, because I think if the general public knew and understand the pain and our inability to deal with life, I, it would be concerning. And so when one of us dies by our own hand, um, it's kept under wraps. And I believe that that district chief or that boss, he takes that personally. That maybe there was something more that they should have been doing, right? That could have prevented that. Maybe there's some culpability there in creating an environment that intervenes and takes a proactive approach. And so much of these issues that we have is about having tough conversations. We don't have them. And I am the poster boy for not having tough conversations for the entirety of my adult life. I could go into, the alcoholic upbringing and how that shaped the way I dealt or did not deal with issues as a grown man. That's not this block of instruction. But let's just say that we're a product of our upbringing, right? We can say that, right? Fair enough. Not going to get any pushback on that. And so the way I learn or not learn to deal with conflict is I don't talk, right? What's the best way not to have an argument with your spouse? You say nothing, man. There's zero pushback. And that was me for the entirety of my marriage. I married Nicole in 95, and I can tell you that I never voiced an objection. And I'll give you a couple examples, couple little examples. There was my mom. My mom would call down from Boston after we got married in 95 just to call and check on the kids. And I talked to my mom. I'd go to hand the phone to Nicole, and Nicole would be like, I am not here. And not once, man, but every single time my mom would call, my Nicole didn't want to talk to her. Now, had I been a man and learned how to communicate properly, it would have been an easy fix. I would have went to Nicole and I would have said, hey, every time mom calls, you don't want to talk to her. What's up? Did you guys have words? Is there something I need to know about? And that would have been the end of it, right? She would have told me, I work with the public all day. I'm exhausted when I get home and I don't want to talk on the phone. And that would have been an acceptable response. And then I would have said something like, you know what? It's my mom. Give her a minute because it would make my heart feel good, right? Problem resolved. I say nothing. Does it anger me? Listen, I'm a mama's boy from the Northeast, right? You not wanting to talk to my mom is a problem. It's a huge, listen, I want to punch her in the mouth. My wife, not my mom. I would never hit my mom, nor am I condoning domestic violence. So let's get that straight. But I can tell you this, it's the first wedge. It's the first wedge of indifference. And so we go on. We're on autopilot. Everybody thinks everything's great except me. But I'm not voicing an opinion because I'm not going to say anything that causes a problem. And there are a series of missed opportunities. We got invited to a wedding in Boston, and I ended up taking my daughter because my wife didn't want to go. Is there any world that exists where you and your spouse don't go to an out of state wedding? And so I can't have that conversation with her, right? And it gets to the point. Now this is going on years, and I am, to say I'm detached, to say I'm indifferent, I wish I had an extended vocabulary to explain to you the extent to which I felt like I was drowning inside, all because I can't communicate or have a tough conversation. And so there comes a point in our relationship um, where Nicole didn't want to be intimate with me anymore. I know, I know. Listen, I know. I can feel the support coming through the screen. I don't know what's wrong with her. Obviously, she has some issues. Yeah, no, trust me on this one. No bueno for our Latin listeners. So listen, if I can't have the conversation with her about my mom calling, am I having this conversation with her? Right? This is heavy duty, man. This is 911 for therapists. And true to my non confrontational form, I say nothing. Um, and I do the easy thing. I bail and I have an affair. I step out on my wife. And I got to tell you, I listed alcoholic, addict, and the last thing was the adulterer. Of all the things that I have done in my life, cheating on my wife was the thing that I am most ashamed of. It's actually the thing I almost killed myself over. And so this statistic makes perfect sense to me. How much training do we do to keep that relationship intact at home? What do we do to make that relationship thrive? And if the answer is zero, knowing the propensity for us to distance ourselves and not communicate, I think there's some culpability there, especially knowing what we know now. And so I step out, not only on my wife, but my daughter, my in laws, my parents, my friends, everybody that loves me, I betray. And I got to tell you, God, I wish I knew then what I know now. And that's part of this, right? That's part of the sharing, is that I've got the answers to the test and I want to share them with you. And so I I get caught because listen, you don't have an affair and not get caught. And the night things blow up, it's out of control. I'm in my unit trying to drive to work, deleting emails as fast as she's printing them out. And it's my daughter's screen. It's just horrible. I get to work and my phone rings. It's my father-in-law. He's, where you at, son? Ooh. Now, not that this is bad enough, but he's bringing his brother Joe. They're both Miami Beach detectives. They've been on the job for 30 plus years. They've been around during the Mariel boat lift and the McDuffie riots. And now they're coming to see me. And I'm fully expecting to get laid out because, I got it coming to me. And they come up. I'm in full uniform. They get out of the car, real aggressive. He grabs me. How do we fix this? You kidding me? How do we fix this? Do you think that was the first time in his life that he counseled a young man at a crossroads? Right? It just so happened it was me this time. It was his son-in-law, and so he's supporting me. How do we fix this? I said, Dad, I don't know, man. I'm all messed up, and to tell you that I was all messed up is an understatement. We won't go into all of it, but at the time, I'm abusing steroids. I'm being suspended. I'm under investigation. A lot of areas in my life are sliding right now, and I don't know what tomorrow looks like, right? And so I've got his support, but even with his support, I'm still having a hard time. I told my wife I'm having a hard time finding some clarity. Like, I don't know. And I had one friend having tough conversations. I had one friend. Everybody knew what I was doing, and nobody said a word, man. They actually condoned it. I think in order for them to confront me, they would have had to have confronted themselves, and that wasn't going to happen. But I had one friend who was living a good life, and he said, "Hey, John, brother, man, you're killing yourself in 6 months over this. You're eating your gun, and you don't even know it." And I would ask you, Do our friends sometimes know us better than we know ourselves? Um, and you might be shaking your head, yes. And that was the situation. That old adage, you can't see the forest through the trees. Well, that was me, man. I I had no idea, but he did. And so he said, "Hey, um, Nicole's moving on. She's beautiful, and you got to be okay with that. The other thing you got to be okay with is somebody else is going to be putting your little girl to bed at night, and you'll still be involved, man, but not to the extent that you think." And I'm like, "I'm not good with any of those." And he said, "You know what? Then start making decisions that are in your best interest. Start making informed decisions. Do something to make sure that that doesn't happen. If I created this situation and this problem, I can fix this problem." I went back to my Nicole that morning. And you go, "What do you mean you went back to her?" She never kicked me out of the house. You see, my Nicole should be on this webinar. She said, "Because I'm in a relationship with you, I bear some responsibility for its health." She said, "If you want to leave this family, that's a decision that you make. I'm not making that decision for you." Hmm. Big balls, man. You're not making that decision for me, and I can't make it either. So I guess I'll just sleep on the couch while you're in bed, and we'll switch. Try to keep it from Brianna. That didn't work out too well either. And she says, "I'm in." And I couldn't believe that somebody loved me. Like, you can love somebody, but love somebody when they give you no reason to do so. That's the challenge, right? That's unconditional. And so we start therapy. I say, "Hey, um, I'm in, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm sorry. I've been saying I'm sorry for months, and it's not. I'm going to show you." So we start marriage counseling. I think you got Cindy Doyle tomorrow morning. Listen to her. She's an amazing woman with great insight. And in marriage counseling, because now you've got a third party. I couldn't say the things that I needed to say to my wife, but I could say them to the counselor in front of my wife. And next thing you know, man, we start communicating. And my wife is going, "Holy crap, I had no idea all these things that you were carrying." And she said this one thing, and I want you all to listen to this. She said, "Because I'm in a relationship with you, I bear responsibility for its health. Not 50-50. Maybe it's 99% your fault and 1% mine." And she said this, "I'm going to own my 1%. So this is what I would ask. Just own your 1% and love somebody enough to have a tough conversation. Love yourself enough to have a tough conversation. My friend Steve, who had that conversation with me, he didn't know how it was going to end. This could have been a friendship ending conversation. Love somebody enough to risk that. And so we get help. And none of this happens unless she's my best friend. So how do we keep from a situation like this developing? Thank you for asking, John. I say keep chasing it, man. Listen, um, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but I know what works and I know what doesn't. When we stop doing the things that make us successful, right? We can't be shocked when things get sideways, right? When you stop showing love and appreciation, when you stop caring, bad things happen. I'll use the gym analogy. You're exercising, you're eating right, you're getting proper sleep, you look phenomenal. You stop exercising, you stop eating right, and you stop getting proper rest, and you gain 15 pounds. No need to start scratching your head. When you stop doing the things that make you successful, you can't be shocked when things get sideways. So, this is what we do. When we're courting, when we're chasing it, holy smokes, right? The yellow sticky notes, the text messages, or remember the pagers 143, right? We'd send a page 143. I know I'm dating myself. And And you would do that, man, and you would find a way. And you were so excited to see that person at the end of the day. It was like breathing, man. It was oxygen. And then what happens after you catch it? Ooh, man, this chasing it stuff, man. It's exhausting. So you dial it back a little bit, right? Throw it in neutral, simmer down. And that's the beginning of the end, kids. Right? That's the beginning of the end. Because at the end of the day, we're a simple species, man. We've got needs, wants, desires, and if we can't communicate them, um, when we stop showing appreciation, when we stop showing love, we create an environment to allow somebody else to do that for us, and that never works out in our favor, right? So, showing appreciation, loving, caring is all part of this. Keep chasing it. I bring up Gary Chapman. I'm sure some of you are aware, Gary. You know when I found out about love languages? Anybody want to take a guess? In marriage counseling. After after I hit the wall, right? After I blew up my relationship, I find out that there's a whole way to communicate with somebody that is completely foreign to me. You communicate with your spouse one, two, three, four, five of these ways, all of these ways, one or two of these ways are dominant. Acts of service, gift giving, words of affirmation, quality time, and physical touch. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I would always tell my Nicole how much I loved her. You know how much I love you? I love you. I love you. In one ear and out the other. What happens? What happens when I keep telling my wife how much I love her and I get no response and no reaction? What do I eventually stop doing? Stop telling her. And when I stop telling her, I stop showing her. And she would always give me hints and clues. She'd be like, hey, John, I'm going to work, but could you wipe those dog smudges on the? Can you clean those on the bottom of the slider? And if you have time, can you strip the bed and throw it in the laundry? What's her love language? Yeah, man, acts of service. And see, for me, I didn't even know what this was. Um, and once I found out, I'm cleaning, mopping, dusting, yeah, house is spick and span, man, right? Waiting for her to get home. Love languages, giddy up. And for me, man, don't buy me nothing, don't tell me nothing, don't do nothing for me. But when we're out, put your hand on my shoulder. Hold hold my non-gun dominant hand, right? Tactically proficient at all times. When she does that, I am unstoppable, man. I am unstoppable. I am 10 feet tall and 6 foot wide when my wife holds my hand or touches my shoulder. She doesn't know that though. I don't ever communicate that to her because I don't know this guy. Now you know this guy. Do yourselves a favor. I say, do me a favor. You ain't doing me a favor. Do yourselves a favor. When we're done, when we wrap up, I want you to go to your spouse and I want you to ask him, what is it that I do that makes your heart sore? And have that conversation, man. Apply some Dr. Gary Chapman in your life tonight. Cool? Nice. I came up with something, airlock and call. And I can tell you for the entirety of my career, I never did this. I want you to use your car as an airlock, a place to transition between two dramatically different environments, right? Now, maybe when you're getting ready for work, you're on patrol, you can listen to some Disturbed, get in that car, you go to work, man, get jacked up. But on your way home, don't be listening to Disturbed. Maybe some Josh Groban, right? Maybe some easy listening. And in that car, maybe, right? Maybe you're doing some box breathing, right? Tactical breathing, whatever you guys want to call it. Inhaling, holding, exhaling, holding, and starting to regulate that system. The other thing that I never did was I never called the house and gave them a heads up on what kind of John to expect. This is what I need you to do. When you've had that night, maybe that a night like our previous presenter was talking about, you call the house and say, hey, I've had that night, baby. This is what I need. Because if you don't do that and you come through the door as Sergeant Kelly and not John, and when your family hasn't seen you for a day and all they want to do is hug you, and the first words out of your mouth are, get out of my way, because you got shit all over you and you don't want to contaminate them. They don't understand that, man. They don't understand that. And you do that for a career, you eventually don't have a family to come home to. So how about we do this? We give them a call. Hey, baby, tonight was the night. It was that kind of night. I need 45 minutes to get right because I want to love on you. I want to hear about your day. I want to love on the kids, but I can't do that now because I'm not John. See, that's emotional intelligence. That's you knowing you. And guess what happens, man? When you get home, you're not bum rushed at the door. The shower is already on. The towel is hanging over the door, and you're given what you need to transition into being the person that your family needs you to be. And that has happened because you have communicated that, right? I never did that in the entirety of my 30 years. Ooh. I got up here performance evaluation. Most of you, if not all of you on this webinar, have performance evaluations at work. They're shit. They don't mean a thing. What's the evaluation look like at home? If we were to give the kids and your spouse an evaluation on you at home, how would you do? See, you give a shit about the one at work, even though most of you don't get any extra money for it. What would that eval look like? What would you do with the information that was given to you? How about that? Maybe what if your kid said, hey, last month when you came to my practice, that really made my heart feel good. I would like to see you there more often. Boom. Right? Got to ask the question to get the answer, man. So don't assume anymore. Ask and have the difficult conversations. And then we can adjust. Then we can be better. For pretending that all is well doesn't work for us, right? Have the tough conversation and ask the question. I got a homework assignment for you. I want you to go tomorrow because it's Friday, right? Tomorrow's Friday. And for no other reason than it's Friday, I want you to go to like a CVS or Walgreens or one of those pharmacies that have cards. And I want you to pick up a little card. And I want you to write something in it that maybe it's been a little bit since you have written something heartfelt to your significant other. Remind them of why they're in a relationship with you. And then I want you to get a little chachi thing. I don't know, stuffed animal, rose, something. I don't know. I don't care. And ladies, just so I can stay with my sexist Bostonian ways, you go to Home Depot, you get your man some drill bits so he can fix all the things that you break while he's out working all day. I know. I hope that brought a smile to your face. Obviously, I'm just joking with you. But you get a little thing for him, right? And you leave it on the counter and you don't say a word, right? Don't say a word. And let's just say that some time goes by. One or two things is going to happen. They're either going to come to you and go, hey, what did you do? Or more likely than not, you just set yourself up to have a really nice evening. Maybe an evening that reminds everybody just how special that relationship is and how much it means to you. And that, guys and girls, is showing some appreciation. Give it a shot. Let's get rid of that nonsense. So what do, man? We keep the slide that we all face from becoming an avalanche. Keep the slide from becoming an avalanche. Um, I got to tell you, man, life doesn't stop coming. And so if we're not proactive, if we're not identifying issues, issues are identifying us. And when they're left unchecked, right, we get overwhelmed. It's not, this isn't, people make more of it than it has to be, man. You make more of it than it has to be. It's all about addressing the issues when they arrive. And I wasn't raised that way. Most of us that have been in the game for a little bit haven't. But I think the tide is turning. Dr. Dara will tell you, man, resources, conversations, we're starting to have more of them. And I think we're leaving this thing of ours in a better place than when we found it. And we do that by keeping the slide from becoming an avalanche. So that's my daughter, Bree. That's my Nicole. And that's me. And obviously this was taken after Nicole and I reconciled. We took a road trip, a family road trip up the East Coast to visit, of all people, my mom. Go figure, man, how things kind of come full circle on this. So that's my two brothers, Dennis and Steve. They've always had my back for 30 plus years. And I'm going to quote a scene from The Town, if I may. You guys remember in the movie when the character says, "Hey, I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it again. And we're going to hurt some people." Right? The response is, whose car are we taking? These two guys are my whose car are we taking. You don't need a lot of friends, man. You just need a couple of brothers that will be with you and not ask any questions, that will be with you through thick and thin. And these just so happen to be my boys. I got it. It's okay to feel messed up inside, man. It is. We all have shit. Nobody is immune. And I think that maybe, man, maybe if we just become a little kinder, right? There's so much, man, we don't have control over. So much we don't have control. I like, in my full presentation, I talk about my superpower. It's the serenity prayer. And if I can recite it for you, it'd be my pleasure. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Because, man, there's a lot of things going on out there that you've got no control over, right? Give me the courage to change the things that I can. You know what that is, man? That's you. That's you taking care of you. That's you making good decisions. And give me the wisdom to know the difference. Can I get an amen? Are you kidding me? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You see, you obsess over that which you have no control over. And the things that you can grab, man, the things that are firmly within your reach, you pass on. See, because that's the hard work. Be kind. Be kind to yourself, right? Try it. You'd be amazed. Show yourself some grace, some love. Some of the hardest things I've ever done as a grown man. It's okay to feel messed up inside. It's not okay to stay that way, right? And that's why I started Sometimes Heroes Need Help. I got resources. There's a QR code there. You scan it, go to a website, go to a podcast, whole list of resources for you. Figure some things out together, man. I've worked with groups like 220, 220.org, free trauma resolution therapy and counseling to first responders. It doesn't cost you a dime, man. Not a nickel. Dan Jarvis, Healing the Hero, healingthehero.org. That's his cell phone. I was presenting last month for an agency, Somebody reached out to me. I reached out to him. That night, he had somebody sitting down with that individual, resolving cumulative trauma and stress. But you got to call, man. You got to call. Heroes Guiding Heroes. It's a foundation I started with some other like-minded people. We provide educational and financial assistance to first responders and their families to address proactively daily struggles and stressors, right? You know somebody that's struggling, man, that needs some help? heroesguidingheroes.org. It's about us taking care of each other, because I can tell you nobody is coming to save us. We've got to take care of each other. We have to have each other's back. All right, this picture and that picture, it's the exact same thing going on. That and that is what I got for you. And yeah, man, it's not one of my prouder moments. So I want to leave you with something that I think you need to be reminded of, right? John 15:13. Greater love has no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. And I was sitting down talking with Dave Grossman, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, geez, about this time last year. And he said to me, John, the greater love may not be to sacrifice your life for your friends, but to live a life of sacrifice. You see, that's the life that each and every one of you live. You live a life of sacrifice. You didn't have to do the job that you're doing, especially knowing potentially the cost. And so, thank you. Thank you for continuing to fight the good fight. Take care of yourselves and each other, right? And you have my information. If I can ever, I'm down here in sunny Florida, USA. And if I can ever be of service to you or people in your network, I'm a phone call, email, text away. And thank you so very, very much for bestowing upon me this wonderful opportunity, Dr. D. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Take myself off mute there, John. That was everything and more, man. Thank you. It was the first time that I had a chance to hear you give the presentation, so it was just as exciting for me as all the other audience members, and I just love your sense of humor too. As you describe, your good fellows friends that you have, saying, "Don't ask any questions. We're gonna roll. Whose call are we taking?" But speaking in line of that though, John, having a good friend group outside of law enforcement, would you say that you value that as well?
Dr. D, man, you hit the nail on the head, brother. See, this is the thing, if I may.
Yeah.
If we don't have friends outside the first responder, first of all, you know why we don't have friends outside the first responder community? Because they would check us on our bullshit. They wouldn't allow us to be the way that we are. Right. And so what we do as a safety mechanism, we surround ourselves with dysfunction. Right. Because it's normal, man. We're all drinking. We're all conducting ourselves inappropriately for the most part to varying degrees. And so we're safe. But friends outside the first responder community not only adds balance, but it adds value to your life. These are the things I did not know. My neighbors right now, amazing, loving, caring people that make me a better version of me. So that circle, right? You can be awesome at work, man, but don't let it be the thing that keeps you from having interactions and relationships with people outside this thing of ours. That's an excellent point and question, Dr. Dara.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We do have a few questions in here as well. So suggestions on getting uniformed members to attend relationship workshops seems to have been difficult for this department, for some department here online. We've held them before and we get 3 to 5 RSVPs and only 2 people show up. Do you think there's a way to be able to help that?
You make it mandatory.
Uh-huh.
No, listen. We're know-it-alls. We are know-it-alls. There is nothing you can tell us. All right. We need to be know-it-alls, but out there, but understanding that there are people that can give you skill sets and tools that know more than you, that's a tough pill for the first responder community to swallow. So I said this to an organization. They wanted me to come, and they said, well, we're not having a lot of success signing people up. I said, great, make it mandatory. You don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes there's got to be an adult in the room that says, bring your ass, sit it in the chair, and trust me. Trust me on this. You're going to walk away a better version of you for doing so. And so if there's an agency out there where they're getting 2 or 3 people, and it's lackluster, if we know and believe that the vast majority of our suicides are the result of a divorce, then we need to be doing a hell of a lot more to strengthen our relationship. Dara, I've always heard this over my 30-year career. When it came to interacting with either a subordinate or a fellow officer, hey, his home life, it's none of your business. Wait a minute. It's not how has that been working out for us? It's none of our business. Maybe it needs to be some of our business. Mm-hmm. Maybe we need to care just a little bit more about ourselves and each other. And I think when we do that, we change the way we do things, and then good things happen.
Yeah, totally agree, man. For years, I've been telling folks is that, people tend not to get involved in relationship issues, substance issues. If you're having work issues where you're not showing up to work, they don't want to ask you your business. And then we have increased suicide rates. And I think more and more hearing this messaging, John, it helps people to realize if we don't check in on each other in a holistic way, people are going to keep killing themselves, because the things that people are killing themselves for more often than not, and you said so in the beginning, is a relationship issue.
Right. And just to double down on what you said, the one thing that we need during this whole time of spiraling is sleep.
Yes.
Sleep repairs the brain. So when we're not sleeping, right, that prefrontal cortex shuts down, we get that amygdala hijack, and we're all emotion. We can't make a rational decision to save our lives, literally save our lives. So it multifaceted, yes, but there are some concrete things that we can be doing differently if we care. Yes. And I believe we do.
Yes. And just to add on to that piece here with the prefrontal cortex, just for people that are unaware of some of the important things that you do get in that regenerative sleep, is thinking, logic, reasoning, and judgment. Those 4 things are very important. And John mentioned the amygdala. For people that don't know what that is, the hijack that's your emotional seat of your memory and of your mind. And so you start to get that emotional, you're thinking emotionally and not rationally, is what you're saying.
Emotional decisions are never good decisions.
Yeah, so true, right? John, you're awesome, dude. Please stick around, go into the chat box. You'll see a whole bunch of comments and stuff there. Really fantastic presentation. I encourage anybody who's on here today to reach out to John and book him to come to your agency to present to you and hopefully help save lives. And even if not that, to change perspectives and to offer another perspective.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much, brother.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you too.